Hi and welcome! Today's video is going to be the final update for Pan That Palette of 2024 before the finale at the beginning of January. So, tragedy has struck with this palette because I dropped it. Moment of silence please for the fallen. I'm gonna pop up a picture somewhere of what this palette looked like in the beginning of this project and also what it looked like in the October update. So not the previous update but the update before that, because actually the day after filming my November update for Pan That Palette I wanted to do a quick makeup look with the palette and then after that take a picture of what this palette looked like for the November update. But unfortunately, as I was doing my makeup, I dropped the palette and I didn't manage to grab a picture of what it looked like before it dropped. So let's look at the October picture and I can tell you that we lost completely the shade called Shredded. We lost a bit of Palm Reader, we lost a bit of Culotta, and we lost the whole shade of Cocoa Crush as well. But since the two shades that I lost, Shredded and Cocoa Crush, were both Frankens, I decided to Franken them again because also the goal for the end of this project is, well, obviously I tried to use up as much as possible, but I set the goal for the end of the year to use up the shade Shredded, to use up the shade Culotta, and to also use up the shade Cocoa Crush. And now that they had completely crumbled onto the floor, I wasn't gonna put them back into the pan, I just decided that I'll make them again. So now I can put up a picture of what this palette looked like in November after the repressing and the refrankening. Here is what the palette is looking like right now, so after a month of use. After I dropped the palette, this is what it looks like. So as you can see, I managed to use up the whole of Shredded after frankening it. So basically, before frankening it, I got one more use on it the same day, the same time that I dropped it. So that took me 30 uses to use up that shade, and then I made a new one, and I used it 10 times. And now it is all gone and all used up again. I'm not gonna be remaking this Franken again, we'll just call it done, and I will keep on working on the other shades that I still need to use up, and also I want to hit pan on every shade in this palette. The next shade in the middle here is called Palm Reader. This one crumbled inside of the palette and I just repressed it back into here. It is looking a bit different. It did lose a bit of shadow, but here is what it is looking like right now after 19 uses since the last update. It is on 154 uses at the moment. So I managed to hit pan on it again after repressing it. And the pan is definitely gotten a lot bigger than it was even before I repressed it. That is because it is pressed looser and it is like easier to pick up more product and use up more product that way. The next shade over here called Culotta also crumbled into the palette. I scooped it back up and repressed it back in this pan. I did use a little bit to franken the shade Shredded here that I managed to use up already. But this one, after repressing, I used it 19 times. Altogether in this project, it has 73 uses on it. And for the finale, my goal is to use it up. It shouldn't be hard at all, considering it is a very wearable shade for me, and I do actually love that shade a lot. I would say that is my favorite shade in this palette at the moment. The next shade here, called Lovely Bunch, was not touched by the tragedy of me dropping this palette. This one I used once since the last update, altogether in this project 68 times. Since this already has pan on it, I haven't been focusing on it that much. Next shade here is called Cocoa Crush. That is also a Franken between Palm Reader, the Cocoa, and Shell Yeah. This one also dropped and crumbled onto the floor, so I made a new Franken. And since then, I have used it 20 times. And the pan is kind of, I would say, at the same point where it was in November update, or at November before I dropped it. So this should be doable to use it up for the finale as well. Fingers crossed. I really hope that it is doable. And the last shade in the second row is called Shell Yeah. I haven't used it at all since the last update. Altogether in this project, this has 75 uses on it. Again, it has already pan in it, so I'm not focusing on it. So let's move on to the bottom row. First shade here is called Get Crackin'. This one is a new pan actually. This one didn't have a pan in it in November update yet. It was not touched by the tragedy, thankfully. It is quite loosely pressed, so it is honestly a miracle that it is still here. I have used it 10 times since the last update. Altogether in this project, 65 times it took me to hit pan in it. And now I can stop focusing on it. Next shade in the middle here, it is called Takoko. I used it 0 times since the last update. Altogether 44 uses it has on it. Again, it already has pan on it. Haven't been focusing on it. And the last shade in this palette is called Nutty. This is the only shade now left that does not have pan on it. So that is gonna be the last huge goal for this palette for the year. I have used it since the last update 14 times, altogether 56 times in this project. I would say that it does have a significant dip in it, so I think that is totally doable within a month to hit pan on it, hopefully. So basically for the finale of this project, that is going to be somewhere near 1st of January, I would like to use up the whole of Kulada, the whole of Cocoa Crush, and also hit pan on the shade Nutty down here. Of course, if I manage to do any more damage on the other shadows as well, that is totally welcome. I would actually like to expand the pan on Palm Reader as well, since it is so easy to make progress on it now, because it is so loosely pressed. But we will see if that happens or not. That is not gonna be like a main goal, basically. So that is it for today's update. Thank you so much for watching. If you are interested, stay tuned for next month's video, the finale, by subscribing, and please give this video a thumbs up as well. Thank you so much, and bye-bye.